Hello everyone, I am Mohammad Manzoor Hussain, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in the Narsapur campus of BVRIT. In this video, we are going to discuss about the video content of this data structures using Python. So to start with, the content in this particular video is going to basically deal about what are the prerequisites required for the whole subject to be understood, and what will be the objective of this particular course to be taken by the students, and what are the different units we are going to cover in this particular course, and at the end we are going to understand what will be the outcomes which are going to be the takeaways by the students after this particular course is commenced. What are the textbooks the students are going to be using it to refer and to understand the knowledge? Those are also going to be explained in this particular video. To start with, any particular candidate who is having a basic knowledge about probability and statistics and having a knowledge about programming logics and able to understand the computer fundamentals is ready to understand what is going to be dealt in Python programming. So the course objectives, any particular candidate who is going to go with this course will be able to learn basic data types and basic data structures like lists, tuples, sets and dictionaries as the first objective of this particular course. With the second objective, as per to the unit, the students are going to learn about the basic constructs like looping and functions. Nextly, the students are going to understand the use of files and object-oriented concepts as well, and will be able to learn what are the different searching and sorting techniques. And at the end, the whole course is going to make them to solve complex problems using linear data structures like stacks and queues. We are going to understand the applications of these data structures also at the end, and the course is going to leave the candidates with the thought process of how and where and when this particular course can be used further. To start with, first unit is going to be the complete introduction about the programming language, in which the students are going to understand about the different introductory fundamentals of Python, where any particular layman is going to understand about what will be the basic building blocks of the programming languages and how they are going to be used for coding a program, and in which they are going to be basically concentrating on where that particular data which is going to be dealt with in this particular program or any particular program which is going to be coded is going to be stored. So there comes the work of variables. So how to declare a variable, what are going to be the uses of variable, how the variable is going to be utilized and store the data, and further it can manipulate or modify the data, is going to be understood as the first part of this particular unit, in which type of data is going to be stored in which memory, how much memory is required for any particular data to be stored in the memory, will be considered with respect to types of data, the data types, where the basic or fundamental data types which any particular programming language is going to have is integer data type, floating point type of data type, boolean type of data type, complex and string data types. What are going to be their fundamentals to be understood, we are going to see as the first part of this particular unit. To continue with, we are going to understand about what do we mean by reserve words and identifiers, where do we use reserve words and what will be the use of reserve words, and what are going to be the pros and cons of reserve words, and where do we have the leniency of using the identifiers. We are going to understand in the next part of this particular unit, where we are going to able to understand about how to take the data as an input and how to display the data as an output using the different standard input-output functions, where we are going to understand about the basic operators and their precedences as well, while understanding about the data type handling methodology. The next part of this unit is going to be basically concentrating on basic data structures like list, basic list operators, replacing, inserting and removing of any element into that particular list. We are going to concentrate on that, and we are able to understand about different searching, sorting techniques as well, using the tuples, basic operations on tuples as well. And what will be the basic representation of a list, how they are going to be used, what will be their applications. We are also going to deal these things in the first unit only as a fundamentals. To start with, the next level of the understanding of data structures, we can understand the dictionaries, which are going to be the basic and very much efficient data structures which can be used in many of the applications, even to maintain the integrity of the data with respect to the representation and with respect to the modification as well. That is called as dictionaries. And how we are going to store the literals in that, what will be the method of storing the data, where do we use the keys, what do we mean by a key, how to add a key, how to remove a key. There will be a handling part where the pair of storing a data will be with respect to key and value pair to be stored in every particular dictionary. So in that case, we are able to evident that how best the dictionary data structure is going to be utilized further. We are also going to understand how to traverse through the dictionaries, how sets and strings are going to be used further to store and handle the data. With this, our first unit is going to be covering with respect to this course. Nextly, we are going to understand the next level of understanding how to develop a code with respect to logic, where the logic building happens when we are including something called as control structures and functions. Where the control structures are basically understanding about how conditions are going to be satisfied or how the conditions are going to be checked, and how the conditions are satisfied to make some part of the programs to execute and some part of programs to get skipped, and on what basis we are going to repeat some part of program and how we are going to repeat those programs. We are going to understand in the first part of this unit where. So in this unit, we are going to understand about how the conditional blocks are going to be used and where the condition blocks are going to be helping the programs to go further with respect to transfer of the control, and how they are going to be basically understanding the program to flow. We are going to understand as the first part of this unit. The next part of this unit basically help us to understand how to modularize the whole program using something concept called as functions, where the functions are mainly making the things to go further with respect to the programs to be divided into subparts, and those subparts can be called any number of times in the whole program lifecycle, program execution lifecycle to be specific. When we talk about this, how to create the functions, what will be the fundamentals of functions, what are going to be basically considered as functions, how the inputs are going to be passed to these functions, and how these functions are going to be working on those inputs, and what will be the output of these functions, we are going to understand in this part of Unit 2. To go further, we are going for extension of understanding with respect to the function fundamentals, where we are going to understand about what are the different arguments a function is basically handling, how are the arguments are going to be passed to these functions, and how they are going to be helping the function to get executed. We are also going to go further to understand the topic called as recursion and what will be the lambda functions and modules. To be specific, the modules topic is making the topic to be more peculiar in making the content to be more concentrated with respect to modularization of the whole code or of the whole complex problem. So with this unit, we are going to basically concentrate on how the functions or how the programs are going to get modularized, how the programs are going to go further with respect to their executions, and how the programs are going to transfer the control of execution from one part of it to another during its execution cycle. So Unit 2 will be the peculiar and to be specific, to make the person more proactive with respect to the coding skills. Unit 2 is going to be helping the candidates to enhance their knowledge with respect to coding logics. In Unit 3, we are raising the bar of understanding with respect to understanding the file operations, or what do we mean by a file, how the files are going to help us during the processing of any particular data to provide information, and how these particular files are going to be handled, whether they are going to be created or they are going to be provided as a created ones, or we can have a legacy of still creating new files with respect to Python commands as well as code. So we are going to understand about these things as the first part of Unit 3, where we are going to be basically concentrating on how to create, modularize a file and read the file, and what do we mean by the different types of modes of files, and how to write a file and how to extract the data from the file when they are being stored in the disk. We are going to deal in this part of Unit 3. Where in the next part of Unit 3 will be now enhancing the coding skills by introducing the information or by introducing the fundamentals of object-oriented paradigm, where Python is having next benefit, or I can say the next feature, where it can also be helping the whole code to work in object-oriented paradigm, which is the current need of the hour, where classes, objects and attributes and methods, what are these? These are the fundamentals of object-oriented programming paradigm, and how they are going to be helping a code to be developed further using different types of topics we are going to understand in this part of Unit 3. In this, if we go further, we can understand, we are able to see something called as defining a class, how a class is going to be defined, whether it can be defined separately as a fresh class, or it can be able to inherit some already developed base classes. All these informations we are going to see in the last section of Unit 3, where we are going to deal with defining a class, defining the what do we mean by inheritance, what do we mean by polymorphism, abstract classes, what are these exception handlings techniques we are going to understand as the last section of the Unit 3. So I may able to say the candidates who are going to take this course from Electronics and Communication Engineering department are going to be basically helping themselves to be more proactive with respect to programming content and programming knowledge with respect to these 3 units. Where if we go with Unit 4, we are now basically going with respect to fundamentals of applying the knowledges which we have seen in previous units to be applied on the data to process them and get our required information. So Unit 4 is basically helping the candidate who is taking this course very much in seriousness. Unit 4 is going to help us to understand how these data are going to be processed for searching and sorting the data. So we are having different types of searching and sorting techniques, where in searching in this particular course, to be elementary and introductory level, linear search and binary search are basically helping the students to understand and make their programming mind to get enhanced with respect to searching techniques. We are having more complex searching techniques, but for a naive user or a naive learner, these 2 topics are making them to understand what do we mean by searching, what is the concept of searching. To go further, in this particular unit, the next sections are basically concentrating on sorting the data. When we talk about sorting techniques, we are having an elementary level type of method, which is basically bubble sort and selection sort. We are any particular person who wants to understand what is a sorting in ascending order or a descending order, any particular new naive programmer is going to help himself to understand about sorting techniques by understanding bubble sort and selection sort. where further few more sorting techniques are there which are helping them to understand about different types of algorithmic approaches, where insertion sort, shell sort, merge sort and quick sort are helping a coder to understand any particular approach of sorting technique with respect to algorithmic approach. So there are different types of algorithmic approaches. Those details are going to be dealt with when we are talking about insertion sort, shell sort, merge sort and quick sort. To go further, in unit 5, we are now concentrating about different data structures where the coder or the candidate as of now who has got the information from previous 4 units is now going to understand about how the data is going to be stored in the data in the memory locations, where he is going to concentrate on understanding what do you mean by a stack, what are meant by queues, and where the arrays are going to be used for implementing these two, and how they are going to be used and what will be the form of the array we are going to understand as the first section of unit 5. We are going further to make the reutilization of the developed data structure, that is circular queue, is going to help us to understand about how to reuse the memory location which is already assigned and to be used in a fresh nature. To go further, the next 2 sections of unit 5 are making us to implement something called as applications of data structures, where basically any particular mathematical program, if it has to get executed in a computer, in a machine which is computing machine, we are basically converting any particular expression which is given in a mathematical expression format has to be converted in some format. How that particular conversion is going to happen, whether it is going to be happening with respect to infix to postfix or infix to prefix, that is going to be dealt and understood how it is going to be executed. We are going to actually implement that particular application in this section, where applications of stack actually help us to understand infix to postfix conversion. Basically, what will be the method we are going to see in coming videos. To end with, how the postfix expressions are going to get evaluated, we are going to even understand those methodologies also as the last section of unit 4. So the whole motto of this particular course is making a candidate to be well versed with respect to the fundamentals to be taken care of when he wants to make his career with respect to Python programming, when he himself can able to understand what will be the next level of understandings once the course is completed. So the outcomes of this course are basically helping the candidate to understand about what are the data types Python actually helps the candidates to deal with, and what will be the basic data structures which can make these data to get modified or get handled. The second outcome which we can say is going to be applying the constructs like selection, repetition and function concepts to modularize the program and understand the program flow from one place to another. To go further, the applications of files and object-oriented programming are going to be understood by the candidates, and that is going to be the main takeaway from this course to make the candidates to go further to enhance his coding skills. Where unit 4 is, or I can say the outcome, fourth outcome is going to be. The fourth outcome is going to help the candidate to go for analyzing different searching sorting techniques, and the fifth outcome, the takeaway a candidate is going to take is he is going to understand how to create and construct linear data structures like stacks and queues, and what will be their application of usage. So these are the textbooks which are being referred during understanding the fundamentals of the course, where the basic textbook, or I can say the important textbook which is actually understandable by the candidates, is the programming using problem solving approach, Python programming using problem solving approach, written by Rima Tereja and being published by Oxford University Press, which is after the edition of 2017. Any particular edition can be referred. So I strongly recommend every particular candidate who wants to learn this particular code, is this particular coding language, should refer this subject, this textbook basically. Over to you people to understand further happy coding, and let us meet in next video with next topics. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.